Let's see what Kevin's got going on. Kevin can do it. I believe in Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
Hello.
Welcome. Hey.
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 You gave that much time to... Hi.
Hi.
If you gave that much time to make fun of the last guy, you can give me 3 minutes to read my what I posted today about miracles and the proof of God.
I don't know. We're not going to have it. No, we don't. This isn't a negotiation. We're not having a 3-minute speech right now. If you would like to have a
courtesy, what
right.
happened? I mean, I demand that you must do this on your show.
And for the record, he would have had significantly more time if any of that had made any sense. So, like, just start with making sense, and then we'll go from there. What would you like to talk about?
Sure, I'll just start. I believe recorded miracles and near-death experiences, many of which are witnessed by doctors, are the proof God exists. The reason why miracles are unexplained and cannot be reproduced is because God is the only one who can cause them to happen. The reason why there is no other physical proof of God is because God is a physical being.
He's not presenting anything. Yeah. That doesn't make for a fun conversation, Kevin. We're not here just to hear you rant for 3 minutes. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that was it. Well, I can do a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. You said that was it.
Well, I could read another 2 paragraphs if you want, but
yeah, I could sit and read the Bible to you. Why would we want to do that? Just tell us what you believe in your own words.
Posted and that is my own words. I just wrote this today on Facebook.
Okay, so you believe that God is the only person who can perform miracles, right? Like, so that's where you landed at the end there. So obviously you believe miracles take place and that the reason that they take place is because of God. So you are and you believe that something like a near-death experience is a miracle. Obviously, it's like, am I understanding you correctly there? That's fair.
Yeah, people having out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences when they can record what's going on around them outside of their body from a different perspective.
What do you mean record?
Outside their body. They can
take my phone with me and record
when they're dead, and when they're dead on the hospital bed, they can tell the doctors what they were talking about, what was going on in the hospital room at the time of their death while they're outside their body observing this.
They're not really dead though, right? Like, because if you're dead, you're dead. There's not like gradients of dead. There's other dead.
How is it
not
recorded? I got lost in recorded. You said they can record things out of their body. What did they record with?
No. They can't. That's another part of it. We can't use instruments to record God or the spiritual world because our instruments are made for this potentiality. We can't have instruments.
Are you saying that you were in error by using the word record and I should just move on from that?
Yeah.
Yes?
The people who are having NDE, who are dead outside of their bodies, still alive in their spiritual body, can record and tell you what happened at the time.
What are they recording with?
They were dead on... Well, they can. I'm just saying they can. I use the wrong word.
English your first language, Kevin. I want to make sure before
I think he means like recount, like they can recall and then articulate.
Recall?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I think he means.
Okay, so you don't mean record then?
Yeah. Okay, let's carry on.
Yeah. So they can testify what their experience is. So if you ask them, they can say, "I had X experience." That's kind of what you mean, right?
Yeah.
Or I feel like I saw this, I heard this, I felt this, those sorts of things. Right?
They remember being in their spiritual astral body outside of their physical bodies while watching what the doctors are doing and saying while they're resuscitating them.
Okay. All right. So I'm with you on that. Now, is it possible that experience that they're having, like, are you willing to entertain the possibility that experience that they had, that perceptual experience, wasn't actually them outside of their physical body?
I mean, you could say it's a chemical reaction in their brain making them have psychosis or whatnot. But
no. Okay, no. I'm gonna the brain scientist in me is having a nervous breakdown right now because you can't. Psychosis is not.
That's something else.
That's dramatically different. So we're talking about perceptual anomalies, right? So we're talking about people having perceptual anomalies while they're in an unconscious state. That's not psychosis. It's not uncommon. It's basically what a dream is. The only difference is when somebody has a near-death experience. And I think you also conflated several terms as well, because you said they are dead and they come back to life. There is no coming back to life once you're dead. Otherwise, resurrections would be commonplace and Jesus wouldn't be so freaking special, right? Like, you're either dead or you're not dead. So, and then your other conflation in terms is saying that people are having out-of-body experiences when they haven't even flatlined, which is, I think, what you're talking to, which isn't actual death. Actual death is the prevention of sodium and ion transmission across the nucleic cell membrane in the neurons in your brain. That's actual, real, legitimate death. Like, there's no coming back from that. So when they're on the operating table, that's a different type of what you would call near-death experience. Like, there is a gradient of what people would consider those to be, like in the circumstances where they take place. In almost all circumstances where they take place, though, there is no sort of cooperation. There's folklore about this sort of cooperation that if you dig into it, you really can't find it being substantiated in any sort of real and meaningful way. It's not really repeatable, and I beg your pardon?
It's impossible. You can't reproduce something that's happened spiritually, that happens miraculously, right?
Well, you're just assuming, but Kevin, you're just asserting that it's happening miraculously. There's mundane explanations for these types of brain events, right? So there really and legitimately are mundane explanations for these types of brain events. I'm a proponent of it, that there's a receptor in your brain that's on most of your neurons, and it's called sigma-6. And the sigma-6 receptor is and people may argue with me on the minutiae of this from a neuroscience perspective, but I think that this makes sense. Like, if there's a chemical that's endogenous in your system that's called DMT, and some people call it like the spirit chemical or whatever, but it actually helps to fluctuate allowing oxygen in and out of your neurons. So it's just something that in our system allows oxygen in and out of our neuronal cells. So and it's also a hallucinogen. It's both of those things. It does both of those things. And it's produced in just really small quantities generally. But if you have oxygen deprivation, in order to prevent something called apoxia, and apoxia is when your cells no longer have enough oxygen to stay alive, a little bit more DMT is produced, and your sigma-6 receptors start to suck the DMT in a little bit more as part of a survival mechanism. And because DMT is a natural hallucinogen, when your sigma-6 receptors are attempting to prevent cell hypoxia in your neurons, they will start to take the DMT in order to regulate, to prevent that hypoxia, which can cause a hallucinogenic experience. And that hallucinogenic experience, from a perceptual perspective, can seem exceptionally real. So that's a mundane explanation from a neuroscience perspective that accounts for everything that you've just said without you providing external cooperation. So you're just asserting at this point that it's some sort of magic spirit thing based on things that you've heard that seem to affirm what you already believe and sound cool to you, without actually looking into the science of what brains do.
All these chemical reactions you're talking about are randomness, right?
Whoa! Wow. No, they're not. Oh my God, they're incredibly regulated. Are you kidding? They're not random at all.
You need to go back like 2 minutes, because everything you just said got ignored. Cold, hard.
It's not
ignored.
random.
Absolutely amazing.
It's you can predict it.
Kevin, I'm impressed. That was the most.
Then if it's not random.
The greatest lack of understanding of what was just said to you, I think I may have ever heard on the show.
Oh, man. Okay.
But it's not random, though. Like, it's
conscious, comprehensive experiences. This isn't just some oops in their brain. Doctors have these experiences, have had these NDEs themselves when their brain dead, heart stopped. This person awareness.
Yeah.
They're having awareness.
I don't know that you necessarily heard anything about, like, I'm giving you an actual physiological explanation for these types of experiences that people have that seem like very vivid and lucid and real for those people. And there's a physiological explanation. I mean, and it's one of many. Like, that's just one of many explanations. It's one that I think makes a great deal of sense. And I'm sure there may be even some neuroscientists that kind of disagree with me on that. But to me, it makes a lot of sense, because hypoxia is something that happens when you go through oxygen deprivation, and those receptors would become more active. And a chemical that, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Science.
Kevin, you brought the word miracle. Can you define a miracle?
A miracle is when something happens that we can't explain and understand or detect why it happened.
But like I explained
So,
it.
I'm just, it's curious because so miracles only happen when you're ignorant. Is that what you just said?
Well, yeah, we're very ignorant human beings, aren't we?
Okay.
We don't know
So,
shit.
I mean, that's the first thing we've agreed on, I think.
Yeah.
The
absence of knowledge is part of the definition of what a miracle is. That's the ground you want to stand on.
When things happen, at this point,
It's a yes. I meant it as a yes or no, Kevin. I mean, is that you said it. I'm double checking because I'm going somewhere with this. You're saying that your lack of understanding of something that happened is part of what makes something a miracle.
doctors,
If that's
PhDs, highly
so he can't answer the question, because the problem is that if that's your position that you stated, I'm just taking your words. If that's your position, then miracles are more likely to happen the more ignorant you are. And I don't mean stupid, just ignorant. If you're ill-informed, you don't have the information, you don't know how the sun comes up in the morning, you don't know why the moon has a light. If you're ignorant, the more things you're ignorant of, based on your definition, the more likely you are going to see a miracle. I just think that's not a good place to be.
Well, you think we're going to explain miracles one day when we get more technology, or?
We don't think that miracles happen. I think that maybe that's a disconnect. We don't think miracles are. We think that there's explanations for things that we attribute as miracles.
Thanks for confirming that what I said was correct, because your follow-up was not addressing anything that I said, but reaffirming, oh, maybe someday when we know more things, we'll show that miracles didn't happen. Yeah, when we know things, miracles don't happen.
You think, but
It was your definition.
It's like, it's another thing, like spirit, like psychics and mediums. There's so much evidence to spirituality.
Wow, you think psychics are real?
That's
Mediums are
not
real?
good evidence. Like, you and I have different standards of evidence, evidently, like just drastically and dramatically different standards of evidence.
It's the most amazing thing for me to hear that someone is converting or comparing their religious experience to a psychic or a medium. That's profound. That's the level of evidence you need to believe that something is real is way lower than the average person.
The only way we can detect God is with our minds, with our consciousness, because that's the only way God exists. Like, he doesn't.
That's the only way we can detect anything, though. It's literally the only way we can detect anything.
If someone thinks God is real and they die, does God die too? Because you just said he only exists in the mind.
Hey, well, I believe the New Testament is literal, and it is verifiable.
Literal?
That is a hard right turn. Hard right turn.
Literal? It's literal? The definitions of how we should beat our slaves are literal. The fact that you should leave your family and sell your goods and even sell your clothes and buy a sword so you can follow Jesus, who doesn't bring peace and joy. He brings a sword and he separates families. You think all of that is, first of all, literal. And then I'm assuming you think that shit's a good idea, that we should sell our clothes and buy a sword. That's where you're going.
You got to put it in context. You got to take this in context.
It's always in context. Did Jesus make water into wine?
It is always in context. Well, I don't know. Do you want to get a buzz on with dinner? Or are you going to drink water or wine? You got to put things in context. Yeah. Like, come on.
Okay, Kevin. All right. I think we're done now. Like, just think about what I said. Maybe listen back, because I think it does explain what your potential evidence was, like with using a mundane explanation for something that you're attributing as a miracle that is just, a common occurrence given what we understand about brain chemistry.
Shannon.
I'm going to let you go, though. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Have a delightful afternoon, evening, whatever time it is for you.
I feel bad for Christians that these are your representatives. These are the people that have come forth to try to explain something. And I don't know. I think the guy in the street corner with a billboard and a giant a Christian flag is going to be more rational than the callers we've had today. I don't know. I feel bad for the average believer. That's
just
pretty amazing.
Oh man.
Stuff.
Yeah,